Okay, we're recording. I want to welcome everybody. This is our second chat. We had a real good chat last time. Our guest host tonight is 628 Dirt Rooster. And the rest of the gang's here. If you got a specific question you want to ask the regular guys, you can ask them. They'll be here. But we're just going to do it by hand like we did last time. I think if you click at the bottom right of your screen, there it says participants. You click on that, and there's a raised hand emblem over there, and that's how you ask questions. And it shows it on my screen in the order that they're picked. So I'm going to let Randy introduce himself and tell a little bit about himself. For some of the people might not know him, and we'll get started here. Go ahead, Randy.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for inviting me on. My name is Randy Mccaffrey. Got a YouTube channel, 628 Dirt Rooster. We do a lot of hive removals and swarm catches. Pretty much that's where my specialty lies, is in moving bees, doing live removals. Have been a beekeeper for 9 years now, and just enjoy it, man. I have fun with it, and that's really a lot of the focus of my YouTube channel, just keeping it fun and interesting. If it's not fun to me, I won't keep it up, and that's what most people are, I find. If they jump into it thinking they got this big cause they're going to fight for, when they find out it's a little bit of work, a lot of them just fall out. So you got to keep it fun, and that's kind of what I like to do. So bring the questions on, and we'll have a good time tonight. I'm all about having a good time, so let's keep it light. All y'all guys that have the real in-depth questions, I'm not a bee pharmacist like some of y'all guys are. Some of them pretty sharp with all the chemicals, but I'm fairly well treatment free. I treat chemically sometimes, but most of the time I use a lot of natural methods. So feel free to ask questions on that kind of stuff, and take it away, Joe.
Okay. The first question is from Vince. Let me see if I can get you unmuted here. There you go, Vince. You're up. Ask your question.
Hey, you hear me, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, remember the last chat I talked to you about my bees? Remember they just died for no reason? Remember I was telling you about that up in northern Illinois? My question is, I keep thinking about this because they were fed and everything was just going good. If there was mites in there, could mites kick in that late in December? If there was a mite problem, or if there was some kind of a disease or something from mites?
Well, the disease part of it, absolutely, a disease. I mean, if they had a virus of some sort that they'd already had in there, it could manifest all winter. But the mite load typically starts dropping off in cold weather when there's no brood. It drops off pretty quick, and I don't think that was it. But I've heard, I get around quite a bit. And in fact, this past week I spent all week in Florida. I just got back on Wednesday, and they're having trouble. There's quite a bit of losses this year on bees. Nobody's figuring it out. I wished I could give you a bulletproof answer, but I can't. You got anything to say on that? Anybody else?
Yeah, because my bees were fed. I mean, I did everything was just perfect, and they were fun. When I went to put the sugar cakes in, they all came up to the top. A week later, they died. It was one of my hives, So I've been wrecking my brain. One person told me, I was talking to somebody up here, that if they had mites, when they finally started clustering, if there was something going on when they were clustering together, that's when it might have kicked in. No.
Mite load should have been way down. I mean, mite can't reproduce without. Now, I guess if you had a super infestation of it, and some of the bees died off, and you got fewer bees with that amount of mite load, but man, you would have been seeing that. I mean, that would be an extreme case. I went.
How big of a box you talking about?
I had 2 deeps. In the top deep, all 10 frames were full of honey. The bottom box, when I took it all apart, the outside frames had honey. There was some capped brood in there, but I mean, I fed the hell out of them. And there was plenty of honey. I've insulated it. There was no moisture because I put insulated covers on it. I did everything I could possibly think of. And when I went to feed them the sugar cakes, they came all right to the top. Actually, they came at me, actually. They get a little aggressive this time of year. And A week later, they were dead. This was the beginning of December.
What was the temperatures like where you're at?
Well, then we had one cold spell, then it kind of warmed back up, and then it just kind of got normal cold again. Now, last week it was 28 below up here, and two of my hives, I could hear them in there. I could hear them in there really well, and one of my hives is kind of quiet, so I'm kind of concerned about that one. But when this happened, we had one cold snap, and then it kind of warmed back up. I gave them their sugar cakes. I just for safety, I put it in there, even though I had fed the hell out of them, and they were all looking good. And then all of a sudden, a week later, gone.
Did you look at your frames when you opened it up and they were gone? Did you look at your frames real close?
Did I do what?
Did you look at your frames real close? You look at the combs?
Yeah. I mean, everything.
Mold or?
Nope, there was no moisture in there. I built insulated covers. There's plenty of ventilation. There was no moisture in there. Some of the bees had their heads in the combs dead. Did I tell you anything?
That's starvation.
But there was, all 10 in the top box, all 10 frames were packed with honey. And there was no burr comb blocking them, so they couldn't get up there. When I went in there to put the sugar cakes, they all came to the top, so they were able to get up inside there. I've been still racking my brain over this.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Yeah. It's one of them things. I have some deadheads. I went out there today and checked a double deep 8 frame. Still got 8 frames of honey over the top of them. Super strong box. And so, boy, they should have been flying today and got on there, and they just left the box. Ain't a bee in it. And been hearing a lot of that. I don't know. Have not a clue. Now, I know they didn't have any mites because that's one of the mite boxes I checked late in the season for mites. They're just up and gone. They wouldn't be in it.
Well, my question is, how long was your cold snap? Because if they were stuck in that one spot and couldn't move, like Randy said, probably a starve out.
Well, they were really active after the cold snap. After the cold snap, it warmed up, so I opened it up so I could put the sugar cakes just for extra insurance, and they were all. Everybody seemed good,
Is it possible that was being robbed out when you opened it up, and that was just bees you disturbed when you pulled the cover off, or did they look like an established colony in there?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Robbers, when you open the lid off of it, they all fly out the top.
Yeah.
We don't know that, but
Right.
If you
they didn't come out. They just kind of came to the top, and a couple of them kind of come at me, and it was kind of cool, so I closed it right away. But
yeah.
I don't know. It just happens. I don't know what to tell you.
No, that's why I was asking about the mites. And real quick, because I did fog them, in September. My other question is, how soon can you start treating for varroa? Can you start fogging them like early, like in May, like once a month, or?
I start mine in the March when they're flying good. If it's 65 degrees out and they're flying good, they get treated.
So like just once a month.
That's why in the spring I usually try to do mine. When I start, whatever, if it's March, 1st April, whatever, I try to treat 3 weekends in a row, and then I treat once a month the rest of summer.
Oh, so go hit them hard 3 weeks, and then just go once a month in the summer until fall, and then hit them again 3 weeks?
That's what I do.
Oh, no, I appreciate that, yeah. I was wondering if you could do it too soon or not.
Nah. Just for instance, I'm going to tell a story. When it first come out, and they really before they legalized it, there was a beekeeper I knew, and he was worried about over-treating these bees. He took 2 nuke boxes and treated them with oxalic acid vaporized every day for 2 months to see if he could kill them, and he never killed them. So I don't think you can over-treat.
Okay, that's good to know. I wanted to ask you that, Joe, because I know I've heard you say that in your videos that you treat all year long. I was just wondering how soon you could start.
Yeah. Good, as long as they're flying. They just need not be in a cluster. Don't treat them in a cluster.
Right. So wait till it's about 65 and the temperature's staying pretty consistent?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on here. Ralph.
Thanks, Joe.
Ralph, you're up. Didn't unmute. There it did. Okay, Ralph, you're up.
How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, you're a little low.
Joe?
Yeah, pretty good.
Well, I've got a question for you and Dirt Rooster. This is my 3rd year with bees. Okay, I get my bees from different places, and I've lost bees. Matter of fact, I lost every hive I got. And I've got moisture in it, and I don't understand how I'm getting moisture in them.
Well, I'll let Dirt Rooster go first.
Might.
If you don't have enough ventilation, even when it's cold, if you don't have enough ventilation, or if you got a weak hive, a lot of times they won't move around enough to dry the hive, and you'll get moisture that way. But if it's, I don't know where you are in the world, so it's hard to say what your climate's like. But like down here, if it's cold and damp, if it's raining all the time, even a strong colony get a little bit of moisture in it, and they've got everything propolized. I pop a lid. Sometimes the bottom of the lid will be wet, and because I have a lot of migratory covers, I just flip the lid over, give them a dry side for a little while, and let them run like that to dry up a little bit. But yeah, ventilation's a big thing, and there's other things you can do. You can add quilt box, newspapers, all kind of other stuff to kind of help dry it out a little bit.
Where do you live, Ralph?
I live over in Rome, Georgia.
Georgia. Well, you shouldn't be getting that cold.
It's been real wet.
Yeah. How big the entrance you running in the wintertime on your boxes?
Small. Small as they got.
Well, in the wintertime, I like to open them up.
I ain't put sugar on this
year. Yeah. If you run an 8-frame, 10-frame stuff?
I had one 8-frame and started out with one 8-frame, and I had 7 10-frame. And like I said, I used the smallest entrance, and I put sugar on them this year. High top sugar, dry feed, and I ain't put a pollen patty on there too to make sure they had enough feed. And then I went down to 4 hives, and so whenever I went down to 4 hives, that's whenever I just taped them off, around them, because I was just losing them, and I figured that was the only way. Maybe they were getting too much moisture in there through the cracks and stuff. Yeah. But they didn't have it sealed up good.
On an 8 or 10-frame hive, especially where you're living, I would never run anything less than a 3-inch entrance and 3 by 3/4 in the front in the wintertime. You can't shut them up too tight there; it won't flow through it, and it won't come out. It won't get the moisture out of it.
Well, Ralph, I'm not too far from you, sir, and mine, I went out during this last warm spell after we had that cold spell. I've opened mine up. Nuke boxes are halfway open. I'm letting them have plenty of ventilation right now.
I'd say don't tape them off like that. Let them, if they want to close off a space, they'll propolize it. So if you got little gaps in between your boxes, leave it open. I'm in a little warmer climate than you, but I never close mine off. My entrance reducers are never on unless I'm building hives up or something. And go ahead, Joe.
You said you got your bees from a lot of different places. Are we talking package bees?
I've gotten nukes from two sources, and I've gotten swarms from 4 different sources.
Well, swarms. A lot of times when you get packages from different places, the queens are not the exceptional queens. They just got to produce so many of them. But the swarms should have had decent queens in most of the swarms, I would have thought. But okay. Yeah, I would open them boxes up and give them a little air on that entrance and see if that helps you. I mean, because moisture will kill them.
When did you get your swarms?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's getting to where it's not fun anymore. It's getting to where it's cost me, too much. Mm-hmm. So I'm downsizing this year.
Ralph, what time of year did you get your swarms?
I got them at the beginning of the year, and I got them all through the year. Let's put it this way: I caught a basketball-sized swarm in my backyard, right by the hives. Put them in there. They produced honey like you wouldn't believe, but I lost them.
Have you treated for mites? Do you treat for mites?
Yes.
Okay.
I use that mineral oil treatment. And I guess that probably wasn't the best, but I checked the bees whenever I was going through them today because we got up in the low 60s, and the lights on them that I could see.
Okay.
You fogged them?
The queens are all there too, sir.
You fogged them?
Fogged them with mineral oil. Did you lock up? You there, Ralph?
Yeah, I used the mineral oil and the fogger.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I treated them all three, and I went 3 consecutive weeks. Yeah. My father-in-law, I had 7 hives at his house. We started with him, and lost all 7 of them too. So that's a total of 14 hives I lost.
Don't know.
That's costly.
Yeah, I understand. I very understand. It's hard to say. Even if we've seen it, it might not have an answer.
Yes.
Or I don't know.
It's really hard to Monday morning quarterback something like that. I really like to, for anybody that's close to me and some of my customers, if they have problems, I like to go out and look at them because a lot of times they can't describe what I need to know, or maybe they don't know what I want to know, and I'd rather go out and look. Hey, babe. But yeah, it's hard Monday morning quarterback something like that. So you never know. I mean, there might be something you're missing that somebody else would pick up right off the bat, and but maybe not. Maybe you just got something going on that's a mystery.
Yeah, just try a couple this year, Ralph. Get you where you get a couple through the winter, and then work from there. Kind of work yourself up, and maybe you can figure it out.
Well, that's what we got planned this year. We're just going to downsize. But I'd like to say before I go, I'd just like to say I enjoy your videos, Joe. And Randy, I definitely enjoy your videos too. I watch both of them religiously.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph.
We'll keep on clowning for you.
Yeah. Okay, next up is Marlene Yoder. You're unmuted. Go ahead, Marlene.
Hey, Joe. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, this is well, really say thanks for all the videos, the hard work you guys do, you and Randy. And we got a couple questions here actually, but I don't want to pound you with them. But one is on honey production, and I know you guys are into producing bees, but I'll tell you what it is. I got a grocery store, and I can sell all the honey that I can make. And I run plastic foundations because I like that in my brood, because I don't have to be so careful. I don't have time to mess with wiring and everything, and it works okay. But it doesn't seem like they want to get up there and build comb on that. And I have an idea. Well, you tell me how I can make the most honey out of it. I had an idea of taking all my plastic foundation out and cutting about 1-inch strips and putting them on the top and letting them build on that. Will that work, or is that a bad idea?
It will work, but the thing of it is, if you don't put fishing line in it or something to support it until they get it down, it doesn't support it well. But yeah, they'll draw it.
You can't run it in your extractor.
Yeah, no.
No, I was thinking of doing the crush and strain method, and comb honey, I guess, is what I was thinking. Another thing is will I lose some honey with it on the comb? I mean, as far as building comb. I mean, how significant is that?
3 pounds of honey to draw a frame of comb deep out.
Yeah.
There's your answer on that. 3 pounds to a frame of deep.
See, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you can run foundations and save your combs, you'll come out ahead to do that.
Okay, what is your suggestion to me? I mean, what would you do?
If you're having trouble getting them to draw it out, I assume you're buying just new foundations and popping them in your frames and sticking them in.
Yeah.
Sometimes that stuff's sat on the shelf for a little while. They'll get on fresh wax faster than they will on foundations that have been sitting and dried out for a little while. So if you got any good beeswax laying around, and you can apply a fresh coat to your foundations, that'll make them work them a little faster sometimes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a little bit, and I got some other guys in this group that raise honey. I'm not a honey producer, but the main thing on honey is you need to get your bees built up 6 weeks before the honey flow starts. That's the prime number. They should be just going wide open. I mean, you should have been feeding them and everything before you get your honey supers on. I like starter strips in the bottom with the fishing line. They'll draw them much faster and straighter than they will plastic. And to produce a lot of honey, this is a trick with a honey producer. I don't have to worry about that because I'm all-time splitting. I never have a super strong hive. But honey producing, you want them right on the edge of swarming all the time to make the most out of your honey. That's just, it's a fine line there. You got to keep them from swarming, but that'll make the most honey. I never have figured this out, but this is what they say. If you took two hives or a hive, one had 50,000 in it, bees, and the other had 50,000 in it, they would make less honey, them two hives, than if you had them 100,000 bees in that one hive. Now, that don't make a whole lot of sense to me, but the books say that they're super strong hives because you got to have an excess surplus of workers that ain't working on the brood to go out and work the honey. You got to have all the nurse bees, collector bees, recipient bees that come in from that. Anybody else got anything you want to add on the honey?
Well, I'm like Randy. I always make sure I don't care how they say new it is. I put a good coat of wax. I fill every one of those cells. I use right cell in my honey supers. And you've got to have like Joe said, a strong colony. And you've got to manage them because if you don't, they'll be in the trees and then you won't have a honey production.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else we can help you with? I mean, I give you some ideas. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, and another thing, you can talk about all that all you want. Got to have forage available too, and so I'm gonna try to get them down there to my property I got there. We got a woods and all kinds of forage down there, but roaches in a swarm boxes. Will that keep a swarm from moving in?
No, I don't think so. What do you think, Randy?
No, as long as you got if you got a good smell, if you can take some of your old slum gum, if you're cleaning your own wax or anything, rub that around in your swarm boxes. Just get a scent in there that smells like a hive, and they'll move in. I don't care if the roaches will move out.
Okay. I was very disappointed when I went and took them down last summer, and it was just, I'm talking 20 of them maybe in one box, That's I just didn't know if that was affecting them or not.
Well, the one thing with swarm boxes, because I do a lot of swarm trapping, is if a wasp will build a nest in that box, those honeybees will not move in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's talking about having available forage. That's absolutely true. I think that once you get, me personally, I have no scientific fact, but I've raised enough bees. I think if you get over 30 hives in any one location, your honey production is going down because they can't fly far enough. I don't care how good a honey source you're on, they just can't. They only fly. Everybody says they fly 3 or 4 miles, and yeah, in emergency they do. But according to the scientists, if they fly over 1.5 miles out, that they burn all the calories up going out there and getting it and getting back to the thing. So it's useless. So, you gotta kind of have, 25, 30 hives here and 25, 30 hives a couple miles down the road or 3 miles, and that'll really hurt your honey production.
Sure. I'll add to that too a little bit, Joe. You got to consider what state you're in actually.
I don't know if I'm in.
Like we're in South Mississippi. Our state. I think our state average around here is about 125 pounds per hive for a production colony, and then places like Oklahoma and other places like that, I think state average is somewhere around 30-something pounds a hive. So if you got a state where there's just not the resources there, you might only be able to run 5 or 10 hives in a yard, and not overrun everything that's growing.
Okay, I just learned recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of honey comes from trees. Is that correct?
More comes from trees than anything else, unless you're on canola or something.
That's what. Mm-hmm. that was very interesting. So I got trees I can put him on. That's I don't know if the honey's good or not. But so yeah, if that's all I got. Thanks for help.
You had something to say, Randy?
I was gonna say, what kind of trees you talking about? Because it's not just trees in general; it's specific trees. You can look at you can get a bloom schedule off the internet and figure out what's blooming in your area that they'll go to. So
Okay,
like
I'll
down
do
here,
that.
Chinese tallow is a big thing down here. That's our biggest honey producer, and there's areas where people don't take care of a piece of property. They might have 20 acres loaded with Chinese tallow that's 10 miles from you. You want to know when that stuff's blooming. You want to move your eyes over close to it. So just be mindful. Be mindful of what and when it's blooming.
Yeah, I'm about 40 miles from Joe there, so I'm up here in southern Indiana. So.
Well, your big things up here would be the cottonwoods and poplars, and they get a lot of honey off of the black locust. Man, they that's a big producer.
There's probably some black locust. I know there's some poplar, but yeah.
Just figure out where Joe's bees are and move yours next to him.
That's what I ought to do. I'd like to come visit him sometime. It just seems I ain't got time. So
yeah.
I do call him every now and then. I do appreciate that, Joe.
All right.
Hey, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. iPhone Harold here. Let's see here if I can unmute you. Okay, you're up, iPhone Harold.
Okay, I have a question. I've heard the Langford talking about swarm traps, and a few people's talked already about swarms. And I've been watching some of Langford's videos, and I got a question for him. Wondering if he's going to put any new videos out on YouTube about in-depth swarm trapping. I'm very interested in swarm trapping.
Well, Harold, I'm going to try to do a whole series this year from how to build a box, how to get the box prepped, how to bait the box, hanging boxes, which way they need to face, finding the bees, because if you stick them on a tree and there's no bees in the area, you've wasted your time. So I need to do a video on how to find the bees, and then obviously do some videos when I'm rolling up on the traps, checking them and showing you, hey, we got bees. There's a lot to swarm trapping other than just throwing a box up on a tree, and as most people throw lemongrass in the box, which I have no use for lemongrass. I lost count at 28 swarms last year. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's good. And just a shout out to Dirt Rooster and Joe. Appreciate both of you all. Watch y'all's videos and keep on making them. It's very helpful, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, thank you, Harold. Okay, we're going to move on down to Greg. Greg, you're unmuted.
How you doing, Joe?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, is Dave from Barnyard Bees on there today?
I didn't see him come in. Is it any of you other guys know? I'll type a search in and see if he's in. I don't think David come in tonight. He's invited.
Okay. Well, I was just he was talking about the two framers.
Mm-hmm.
Raising overwintering them. And I'm up here from his part of the country. I'm south of Clarksburg, West Virginia. And we just had 2 or 3 days below zero. And I wrapped the two framers, and the weather got up to about 50 today. And I went out there and I stuck my ear up to the entrance, and they was a buzzing.
Yeah. I've got a couple two framers still alive. It's been 12 below zero for a week here.
Yeah, but he was talking about I've seen one of his videos that he said he had when he put the 6 or 7 through, and he lost the 1 over the winter. And he said it got down in the single digits a night or two. He said about 8 or 9. And, but I got a kind of like a wind problem, but I put 2-inch insulation, styrofoam insulation on them, and, they're doing great. And, I'm like everybody else. I'll get off here and give everybody a chance, but I watch all y'all's videos, Dirt Rooster. I enjoy your all's Barnyard Bees. You're all doing a good thing.
We try.
And, appreciate it. Wish I lived closer where I could, visit you. How far are you from Huntington, West Virginia?
Probably close to 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering because, the ones that makes Queens in West Virginia.
Oh, Jason Braggs, he's on here.
Yeah. But I don't know exactly where he's located at.
You want to talk to him, Jason, for a second?
I'm about 3 hours from you. I'm center of the state. If you know where Summersville Dam is.
Yeah, I know where Summersville Lake is.
I'm about 10 miles from there.
Okay. So you're about 3 hours, right?
Yep. I come to Huntington quite often.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
Was you at the Mid-Ohio Valley Big Expo?
I was one of the speakers.
Okay. Well, see, if I'd known that, which I didn't really pay attention to the entry there as far as who was taking care of what, but I know Wade Stiltner, and I'm a good friend to Wade. And but anyway, I might be able to come up and visit you.
Sure. Yeah. Just give me a call.
I'll bring a few of my buddies with me, and we'll come up and talk bees.
Sounds good.
All righty. I appreciate you, every one of you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for watching. Let's see. David's up. Go ahead, David.
Is that me?
Yes, sir.
How y'all doing today?
Pretty
Hey,
good.
Dave.
All right, Miss Joe, I do appreciate your videos. You have this thing. You have this video of the small beehive, hive beetle,
Yeah.
where you drilled a hole in the bottom and put the jar in.
Yes, sir.
How's that been working?
It worked, but I just use a CD case now. It's a whole lot easier, and I don't have to. The only bad thing about them jars on the bottom board, it's kind of hard to get them to place on the hives. If you got braces going across, they want to hit. And I don't. It's more of a southern thing. The beetle baffles that I made, they worked really well. The beetles, I didn't have no trouble with the beetles, but you get up here in the north where it's going to cool off, it just makes a big frost ring around the inside. It doesn't work up here.
I hear you. Well, I'm about 100 miles south of Barnyard, David.
Yeah.
I'm in central Georgia, and hell, you almost draw a line straight down to us. But I'm sorry to see him not show up because I just got a what you call that, night call queen moving thing.
Yeah, night call.
Yes, I was going to ask him a few questions about. But my main question is toward Dirt Rooster.
Okay. He's the one to be talking.
I'm fixing to go pull, I'm saying around mid-March or whatever, a hive out of a barn. Now, the man tells me that it's been there for 7 years when he moved in. I don't know how long before that. But from what I've observed, there's a lot of bees moving in and out, in and out. when I go in to get them, like I said, I'm building me a vacuum and stuff. What am I with an old hive like that? They ain't like the new stuff. Somebody, a hive just moved in. You know, they ain't had time to set up build. That's different. Like I said, an old hive is different from a new hive or whatever. What should I be looking for when I go into this extraction?
Your biggest thing is trying to save any brood you can. If you're going to do this in the spring, frame up all your brood. Don't worry too much about trying to frame up honey. It makes a mess and it just ruins comb. Usually
Right.
it won't hold in the rubber bands, but if you've seen any of these videos where you do removals, you just put your rubber bands on your frames and you cut your combs to fit. You just work a piece
Right.
at a time, and any empty comb, throw it in a trash bucket. Any drone comb, throw it in a trash bucket. You won't need it. Worker brood's what you're trying to save. You want to save worker brood, and you want to keep the bees on it. If you don't,
Right.
you got to get the bees on it as fast as you can, because if you don't get bees on it pretty quick, sometimes they won't take back to it, and it'll just die. The brood will die.
Right.
That's really it. Just
Is there any particular thing with a comb or a hive that old that I need? I know you.
no,
with
not
your
really.
old
Combs,
hive.
as long as they're tending it, it'll be fine. You might run into some dry, crunchy comb. You can throw that away.
Right.
But the age of that hive don't mean anything. It probably ain't the same bees. They probably died off and swarmed back in a couple times over. So, just whatever area of the hive they're working. Because if it's a 7-year hive, it might be 2 big stud cavities, 10 foot tall, and they might have abandoned one whole side of it. You just scrape all that out and throw it in your junk bucket and melt it down. You can't save and recycle all that wax.
Right.
But yeah, just be careful with your vacuum. Don't run too much vac pressure, or you just end up with a bucket of dead bees.
Yeah, I've got the little thing on the side of it so I can
Regulate
regulate how much.
Yeah.
And I have one of these old timey smooth vacuum hoses.
Yeah.
So without the ribs.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully they won't create a whole lot of damage to the bees.
All right. Well, the shorter vac hose you can run, the less damage you'll do to them too.
Right. Man, it ain't very long. You remember back in the 60s or whatever, that hose ain't very long.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I have to ask, I'm open to anybody or whatever. Me being in Central Georgia, and y'all pretty much know, like I said, I was hoping Dave backyard, because I'm 100 miles south of him, but you're in Mississippi or whatever. When is the earliest I can start raising my queens? Because I'm planning to make a few splits and stuff. I'm down into the deep woods. I have a lot of, most of my honey coming out of here is going to be trees. Like I said, wild blackberry, blooms, the wild stuff.
You're talking about raising queens. We'll be starting in a couple weeks. We'll start mid to end of February, and y'all are probably, I don't know, you're probably what, 2-3 weeks behind us.
Well, actually, if you were to cut it across, I'm probably that same latitude you are. I'm just in Georgia.
Okay.
I'm gonna step in on that question. The easiest answer to that, let the bees tell you. When you get in there and you've got an ample amount. I mean, I'm not talking about a 50-cent size piece of cap drone combs. I mean, I'm talking about you've got 2 or 3 inches across the frame of drone combs and they're capped. You can make queens. No matter where you're at.
like I said, I went into them last week, and when I went into them, they was not so strong, and I've been feeding them, since October. And when I went into them, I've got wall-to-wall cap brood on. I've got 3 hives right now. Oh, single body hives and 1 nuke, and they are wall-to-wall cap brood.
They have any drone comb capped in there? If they're not, they got that much brood in there. They're thinking about here in the next week or two.
Yeah, well, I have not. I went in. I was not looking for drone comb.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm free. I'm feeding 2 to 1 right now, and I was planning on cutting back at the first of this month to 1 to 1 to keep the queen in, but looks like she's already kicked in.
Yeah. Yeah, just watch the bees. That's the main thing. When they start getting a fair amount of drone comb in there, you can start making queens. You should be just fine. And them bees know more about it than we do.
Sounds like you're going to be ready for some good splits, too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for, because this is my 2nd year. Actually, it's my 3rd year. My 1st year, I didn't do so great. Last year, from a nuke, I made 6 hives. 2 of the hives, something went wrong. They swarmed on me, and I didn't, unexperienced and whatever. And I've caught up with it now, and I've got 3 strong hives coming in, and that nuke is busting open. So I'm planning on making a few splits out of them, hoping to build up enough. I plan to make some honey, and if I can get it going, I want to do the bee, notes or packages, but I'm just getting started. So,
yeah. Well, good luck to you, and like I say, you just watch the bees on that. We're going to move right along here and get some more questions if you ain't got anything else. You got anything else you need to really ask?
Appreciate it, Mr. Joe. I appreciate all of y'all, and I'm a subscriber to all of y'all. So thank you.
Thank you. Here we got that's the same one. Greg Miller. Is that the one we just had? Let me see here.
No, that's a different one.
Yeah. Okay. Greg Miller. You're up.
Yeah, I'm the same one. I was just wanting to tell him about the vacuum. I made 2 vacuums, and a buddy of mine tested it out, and he drilled like 80 some holes, 1/8 inch in the back of his hive, in the back of his box for his vacuum, and that made a cushion. So when them bees came in that box, they just hit that cushion and fell off in the floor. And we didn't have, hardly any dead bees at all. And so if you can get the setting right, I think he has some kind of thing to put over the intake. And it was like I said, I don't know the machine that he used, but it was like 5.5 something. But they work great. So I was just wanting to pass that on to that fella.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
We got Greg from Cherokee Bees. Let me see here. You're unmuted.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for giving me the time to ask you a question, too. This is open to whoever can answer it. But since we brought up the subject about the drones, I was wanting to requeen my hives and raise my own queens this year. And main thing is make sure I have the best genetic diversity. And I want to understand, this pretty much goes with what you got in your yard, but if you want to increase your chances of certain drones being able to inseminate your queens, should I have those drones further away from my main yard where the queen stock would be?
Absolutely. If you really want to flood your yard for mating, anywhere from a third to half a mile circle away from it, you set them up, your drone colonies, in a pyramid shape, triangle shape,
Yeah.
a third to a half mile away, and that will ensure that you get a large percentage of your queens mated with those drones.
Okay, I was wondering.
And on drone colonies, now you watch them real close for mites. Now, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that. Well, they can raise more mites in a drone cell. That's what makes it bad. Because the longer duration. It has no. Everybody thinks it's because of the size. It has nothing to do with the size. It's the duration period or the incubation period on the larva. You get the extra 3 days, and they can raise at least one more mite in there in that 3 days. So you got to really get the drone colonies on mites.
That's some of what I do to as part of a natural treatment. If I'm not trying to make queens, I'll go through and scrape drone brood out of just about everything. As long as I'm in hives, I don't just go in hives to scrape drone brood out. But if I'm in a hive, I see a big patch of drone brood, it's gone. So
I'm about the same latitude as barnyard bees in Alabama, and it's 60-something degrees today, and I was able to take a little look around, and I noticed that some of the stronger hives still had drones. I guess they carried them through the winter because there were several of them still going. So I guess that queen and the other queen, I'd like to be able to have the best chance of sharing their genetics because she has really come through strong. So I want to know what I need to do to move her hive, probably to increase the chances of letting her drones do the job.
You know, it's funny. Everybody in the bee world, they want their queens first thing. They want to make splits. They want them early queens. The early spring queens is the worst mated queens you can buy, and I don't care who's raising them. You get them September queens, they'll make you a much better queen than the spring queens. It's just a fact of nature. You've run that queen all summer long, and you've worked her butt off, and she's got to get through the winter. You've got a brand new fresh queen in there in September. She thinks after the summer solstice, she thinks she's a spring queen. She'll lay that box up just real fast, and next year she'll be ready to go.
Well,
Makes sense.
I'm going to throw you a different wrinkle to what these guys do. I run my drone colonies in my own queen rearing yard. But what I do is I take the queen that I want the drones, which most of mine I want mated with Caucasians for gentleness. I take and put 2 frames of nothing but drone comb in there, let her lay them up, and then I put it in the drone incubator. I have a hive of queen that's just barely putzing along, keeping the hive enough strong enough to survive and take care of those drones, but they'll hatch them out. When those hatch out, I'll take those frames and put them back in the hive that I want my drones out of, and that queen will go in there and lay them up again, and then I'll transfer them back over to the incubator hive.
Are you using drone frames?
No, I'm just using where they've naturally drawn their own drone cells out, and I've got frames that are completely nothing but drone cells.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because I try to make sure my bees, I can work them in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I want the gentlest bees to be the mating bees.
Yeah.
I tried one of the things that Joe showed on one of his videos where he would put a medium frame into a deep box, and the bees would draw down the bottom of the medium frame and make it into drone comb. And it's true, it works. I have several of them like that. So, and also has some green frames as well. So,
yeah. No, you got to be careful about getting Langford. What Langford says works just fine, but you got to watch how many drones you put in a colony. Yeah, they can't hardly support over one full frame of drones because they tax a hive worse than raising queens do. I mean, they're drones are big babies. For the first 10 days, they don't feed themselves. And then after 10 days, they feed themselves. But a lot of times they'll come back in the hive and they're so wore out and exhausted that the nurse bees has got to jump over and feed them or they die to get them enough strength so they can go up and feed themselves. I mean, they're a bunch of babies.
That's interesting.
You can shake a bunch of bees in a cage and leave them out there, and they'll live for 2 or 3 days. You shake a bunch of drones in a cage, and they won't last very long. They're pretty soft, I guess.
Langford, do you ever see a ball of queen in those hives you're running full of drones in?
No, sir. I have yet to see that. Like I said, the queen, she'll get maybe a full deep 8-frame laid out, and that's about as good as she gets.
Yeah.
And I have that hive set off away from all the rest of them. You know, it's less than 100 feet away from the last line of bees.
Yeah.
No, and it's every 30 days or so is when I'll take those frames and put them back in that hive. So she has a break of about 4 or 5 days before I go back, and she's got them laid up, and I take them back and put them back in that hive. But so far, last 2 years, it's worked.
Interesting.
You got anything else, Greg? Or is that pretty much it?
That answers my question. I sure appreciate it.
Okay. We're going to go to Dennis here. Dennis, you're up. Dennis Churchfield.
Crutchfield.
I ain't got my glasses on, so forgive me.
No problem. I was just going to ask, anybody can answer this if they want. How long can I safely bank virgin queens before they really are not much use?
Jason Bragg would be the man for that one.
If I'm not running some kind of an experiment or something, I wouldn't bank them over 7 days.
Okay,
that would probably be my max, especially if I'm trying to get them well mated and good quality queens out for folks.
Okay, that's just what I need to know. Thank you.
I've heard other people say you can bank them up to 3 weeks, but I wouldn't try it.
I've actually done that. I've done some experiments to see how long I could bank them. I banked, I think 6 or 7, wasn't it, Joe, for like 5 weeks?
Yeah, getting close to 2 months. Yeah,
close to 2 months, and then I put them out in mating nukes. This was late in the fall, just to see how many of them would fly out and get mated, and they all came back and mated and started laying, except for 2 of them. But that doesn't say that they're a quality queen after that. I mean, I don't know what else had hurt.
Yeah.
So I personally don't, if I'm going to use them for a production hive, I personally don't like to keep them banked over 7 days, because about 7 days is when they're going to want to go out on their own and try to get mated anyways.
Yeah.
All righty. I appreciate
it. Mike, you're up.
Hi. I want to say thanks to all you guys. I certainly appreciate all the advice you all have given. I try to catch all of your YouTube videos, and that's how I'm learning. This will be my first year.
Okay.
Right now.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's all you guys' fault, just so you know that. So I've got a 3-pound package with queen coming around the 1st of April. This will be I'll have this up northern part of Arizona. It's about 6,000 feet altitude, so it's pretty chilly up in that area. So I'm going to run the 8-frame deeps for the brood. But when I first get the initial 3-pound package, what I'm thinking is blocking it off to maybe 3 frames wide or so, and let them get started, and then open it up as I go. And I'm also thinking I need to feed them, so I got a high hive top feeder that I'm going to run, and also some dry pollen. Any other recommendations you guys could give me for a brand newbie?
Okay, I'm gonna say there's a lot of people here. Probably everybody in this group will have an opinion on this. Definitely, if you're living in a colder climate like that, the tighter you keep them, the quicker they'll grow. They can control the box. They can draw wax. If it's got to be 80-some degrees, but in the whole box has got to be that temperature before they can draw wax. It's not malleable for them. So if you're using 10 frames, I would block the front of the entrance over and give maybe a couple inches to one side, and just catch your piece of styrofoam. Excuse me. Go right down and wedge it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Inch or two styrofoam, and just move it back and give them one frame at a time until you get them built up. Are you getting your bees from California, I assume, since you're living in Arizona?
No, actually, I'm getting them from Barnyard Bees. David was the first guy I started watching, and I've always been impressed with how gentle his bees are. I tried to look around at some California ones and couldn't find any decent ones, in my mind to get them from. So,
excuse me. Well, I'm death on package bees. I don't care where they come from. They're good to get started.
Yeah.
But I would suggest to you, if you got a package bees, midway through the summer, June, July, when it warms up good enough, I would requeen them with a good quality queen from somebody, or make a split off of it and let them mate in your region.
Okay.
And I'm not bad mouthing anybody's bees. I'm just saying packages in general. When you're with these big outfits, when they're running 2,000 packages a day from mid March till mid May, you can't get quality queens. I mean, it's just impossible. You can't do them kind of numbers. I don't care who you are. I know what it takes to raise a quality queen, and it can't happen. Somebody else might want to jump in. What do you got to say about that, Randy?
Packages are tough starting out anyway for a new beekeeper. So if you survive that package, you're gonna be a jam up beekeeper.
Nuke is the way to go, I guess, huh?
Nuke is the way to go. But sometimes package is all you can get. You might not have anybody around you selling nukes, and
yeah,
I don't know anybody mails a nuke.
No.
Right.
Postal service not good enough to mail them. I've tried it, people. It doesn't work. Anybody else got anything you want to add to that for a newbie?
And then feeding them, like I was talking about, is a good idea right off.
Yep. I absolutely got to put feed on package. They don't have nothing. You're putting them in on are you putting them in on starter strips? You're putting them in on foundation? I
was going to start with full foundation. Eventually, I like to go to starter strips.
I wouldn't put if I got that box down, I wouldn't probably go no bigger than 4 frames wide, and I would probably give them 2 frames of full foundation, and I'd put the other 2 frames starter strips. You'll find that they'll draw that starter strip before they ever touch that full sheets of foundation.
Yeah, they will.
Starter strips on the outside.
I might not. I might put 1 starter strip right in the middle of 2 foundations. That's the way probably what I would do, but Randy might have a different opinion on that. They'll draw it first.
I would probably put both starter strips in the center if you're just going to run 2 starter strips. I like being able to have comb off a foundation so I can cut queen cells and things like that. And I run most everything on foundations except for what I've done cutouts on. But I like having comb off a foundation. There's a lot more things you can do with it than you can what's on a foundation. And anything in a brood box don't really need a foundation because you're probably not going to have to run it through an extractor. So, starter strips are fine, but you got to feed them for sure. You asked about feeding them. They got to have something to draw that wax out, and they need those calories.
Okay. Thank you, gents. Appreciate it.
And I really – go ahead, Jamie.
One thing, Mike, is I want to encourage if you're just starting out, is I know it's going to sound crazy, but get you a notebook and keep notes as you go. They'll pay dividends long term. Yeah. And don't forget to have fun doing this. That's the whole reason you're starting to do this is to have fun. Even if you lose bees, use it as a learning experience. Don't take it as a lot of people beat themselves up when they lose bees, but use it as a learning experience and just grow through it. Don't give up. Just keep plugging away, man. You'll make it. Just don't let up and just be patient. I said, take good notes and just enjoy it, because that's what beekeeping is really about, is just having fun and enjoying it. That's the reason we do this.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that advice.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got another thing to say about starter strips. I really like starter strips in the spring. People come here and buy nukes off of me, and they put them in a 10-frame box. I don't suggest it, but that's the box they bring me, and I give them 5 frames, and they'll bring me 5 frames a lot of times of foundation. And I won't split that brood chamber up because it's cold. If you put that full sheet of foundation in, you have put a divider in that box. It will slow them bees down unreal. If you put take that same thing and put starter strips in it, they still got the heat and everything, and they'll draw that down if they need it. It doesn't slow them down a bit. That's another thing about starter strips.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, we ain't got anybody. Got any hands up? Who wants to talk?
Hey, Joe, we had a question on the chat just a second ago. James from Flippin' Bee had a question for Randy. That was said, Randy, what type of mite treatment would you suggest with what you do?
I do a lot of splits. That breaks brood cycle. I do drone brood elimination. If I have to use anything, it's Mite Away quick strips, got the formic acid or dribble method or whatever my dad happens to be using. I usually grab some of what he's got. It's rare for me to treat for mites because I don't know what it is about our area, and I think it's just where we are. You know, it's just different areas. Way up north, y'all don't see small hive beetles, and way down south, I know there's areas that see them. But I don't do crop pollination, so I don't move my hives all over the place. If I was doing that type of thing, I would have to treat, I think, but I don't really see a lot of, once in a great while, and it's usually if I do a hive removal about an hour north, or if I bring in any commercial bees on my yards, I'll start seeing mites. But otherwise through the year, I don't hardly ever see mites, so I don't treat a whole lot. And my dad does treat though, and so if I see the need, I'll just grab whatever he's got. And my brother's about an hour and 15 minutes north of me, and he treats. So it's not that I'm against treating. I just don't see a need for it sometimes. So it's an extra expense, extra time doing something I don't feel like I have to do. So that's my only reasons for it. It's not that I'm against it. I just don't feel like I have to do it right here where I'm at. I'm about 15 minutes from the Gulf Coast in South Mississippi, and so I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but I kind of equate it to there's certain areas that certain things don't thrive. Like we don't have elk down here, and it's not that there's a natural barrier keeping them from coming down. They just don't come down here. So by the same token, small hive beetles don't go too far north. They just can't survive.
They don't like smell that salt water down there.
Yeah, that may be something to it. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I can go. My brother swears up and down I got a treat, but I go, well, come on down here and go through some of my hives, and we'll do some tests. And if I need to treat, I'll treat, but I just don't see it. I don't see the deformed wing. I don't see. I got some really good eyes, although a lot of people say you can't see them all. Well, you'll see some if you got mite problems. I'm just not seeing them.
Okay.
So,
answer your question?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, Joe. Yeah, I was just trying to get the information, what types of treatment there is and what time to treat with what different things. Like formic acid is temperature sensitive. Mite Away is not so sensitive and everything. I was just trying to get some information out to people on that. Can I go back to where the guy was talking about banking queens? I know Jason, he banks some queens and everything. If I was to bank queens, I prefer them to be mated before I would bank them. You'll have a better result out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know though. So a lot of times when you shut a newly mated queen off, they never start back. Just for instance, I had a friend out in Washington State this year, and he's wanting more queens of a certain type than I had. And I said, well, I'll just break down one out of my big hives, and I sent him out a queen out of a strong hive, and you know that queen wouldn't lay, and I said, well, I don't have any more right now. You just keep her in there till I get done. It took her 4 weeks to start back laying, and she had a double deep hive just roaring. Just shutting her down, shipping her to Washington. She just didn't want to start back, and I don't know what kind of queen she will make after she did. I mean, she seemed to do all right in the fall, but I don't know how she's wintered.
Yeah, it could have been feeding climate that shut her down.
He's pretty good about feeding them and this, that, and the other. But you know, a queen, if you got a newly hatched virgin, they're not going to fly out for 5 days, basically, from the time they're hatched. It takes about usually on the 5th day, usually. So you've got, you know, you keep them 7 days, you only keep them 2 days over, and that happens a lot. The weather, rains.
Your ideal situation for dealing with virgin queens is to actually put the cell in the mating nuke and let them emerge in the mating nuke that they're going to fly out and get mated in. About the only time that I bank a virgin is if I'm intending to inseminate her, which I don't inseminate before 7 days, or if it's somebody ordering virgins, I won't send them as soon as they emerge. I'll feed them for a day, make sure they're going to live before I cage them up and mail them off. I have a lot of people order virgin queens. So I try not to bank them at all. But I think with 7 days, if you had to bank them, you'd be pretty safe at that. I'd hate to have to go over that, though.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I agree. You know that. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask you, had anything else you need that one to add there?
I was going to say I agree with Jason on the viability of the virgin queen getting out in time and being mated and everything. It's just earlier it sounded like the gentleman's question, I don't think it was explained where not to bank virgin queens, that they need to be mated queens to bank, and you'll have a better success rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't hardly ever bank a mated queen over 7 days. I don't like to keep them banked any longer than that. Try to get them out, get them in a hive, or get them out of here. I don't feel good about it. I don't think they might not be. Do they keep them alive? Yes. But are they feeding them everything they need? Are they taking care of them like they would if it was a single queen in there? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's work banking queens. You got to keep open brood next to them. If you don't keep open brood next to them, they'll a lot of times they'll ignore them and starve them.
They sure will.
So you might bank 20 queens and come back and find 2 alive in a couple of weeks and think you've done something, but you got to keep rotating brood in there.
Yep. Okay.
All right, thank you.
We got John Robert. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my question. My question is, can a large cell queen or a standard size queen lay in small cell? And then what is y'all's opinion on small cell bees?
Now nobody's jumping in there. I run all small cell bees, natural cells, natural size. Natural size is from about 4.7 to 5.0 is a natural size. I have no problem with my queens laying and moving over to somebody that's got large cell comb. I have no problem with that. I don't know about large cell bees laying in small cell. Do any of you guys got any thought on that? I've not really tried that because I know that it works fine going up, but in size. But if it was too small, I don't know if a large cell queen could get her butt in the cell or not.
Joe, I never really paid attention to it.
Joe, I've used some of the small cell foundation as well, and some of the queens that breeder queens and stuff that we've bought from different places are not necessarily raised on small cell foundation, and I've not seen any issues with it myself.
Well, I guess I get breeder queens too. I never even thought about that. It takes a little while to regenerate them back down, so you're probably right, Todd.
as far as the queens go, because of the way that the queen cells are drawn, it shouldn't be an issue because they're not actually being raised in a worker cell or anything like that. I mean, it's its own cell, so cell size really doesn't affect the queen.
He was worrying about the queen laying in them.
She should be able to lay in large or small. It shouldn't matter. It does when she develops. I mean, she's going to be the same size, either way.
Yes, but he's talking about if he brought a queen in that was large cell and put her all on drawed small cell foundation, will she be able to lay worker cells in them?
Yes.
I think she probably can. They taper down pretty good. And
she can. That's why our abdomen's made the way it is.
Yeah, I think she'll probably be all right. I never really thought about it, but a lot of times the breeders we got the first year we got them, they're a larger queen than the small cell I run. But people talk about them taking years and years, 2 or 3 years to get them back to regress to small cell. It don't take that long. A couple generations and they're right there.
Is that Italians?
Any ones I ever raised come back down. If you raise them on natural comb, let them draw their own off starter strips, they'll regress back to small cell bees in a couple generations.
What are you running mostly, Italians?
No, I hardly run any Italians.
What you got?
Oh, I run Martha Carpenters. I run Buckfast, the Caucasian, Carnies.
Right.
Run a little bit of everything. No Russians. And no Russians.
I run about the same thing, and I've noticed the same thing. They regress back to small cell, even especially when you're bringing them out of the trees. I go out and swarm trap at least 3 miles away from any known beekeeper, preferably further. And some of the ones that are from way out back, they're small cell as small cell can be.
Yeah.
I have a question, and it's kind of playing off of what Jamie said. Most people that you would buy a queen from, most people that are making any queens in mass are probably using some sort of an artificial cell cup to make those queens, right? So those queens are all going to be developing basically in the same size cell. So, I mean, I don't see how they could not work in either one, because it's not like small cell bees are using a smaller cell to make the queen with. So the queen's not smaller, right?
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I would say you're probably right. I don't think, but the queens are always big, even on a small cell queen. They're still big. You're probably right.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you look at that, if you look at the abdomen of a queen, you see how it tapers out to the tip where the egg comes out. So she can get the tip of her tail down in that cell. If it's small cell or even larger cell, her body's designed to get in that cell. If you go to regular cell and the comb gets older and older, as they build cocoon on it, it gets smaller and smaller if you think about it. And she can still lay in that smaller, that 4.7, even if she's raised as a breeder queen or whatever, mass production queen. She's still designed to lay in that cell.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think small and large cell is in the genetics of the queen. I think it's just that's what they prefer to draw if they're drawing their own size comb is a small cell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.